Welcome to another episode of Erik Whiskey Studies, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the Alberta Premium Cask Strength Rye Limited Edition. This one's bottled at 66% alcohol by volume. They can vary from year to year. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know I've been focused on Scotch for a few years, but I picked this up a few years ago when Jim Murray named it his Whiskey of the Year in the Whiskey Bible in 2021. So I have what I call round to it bottles. I see it, I go, well, you know what? That's real popular right now. There's a lot of buzz going on. I want to try that. I want to review it, but I'm focused on Scotch right now. So I'll buy a bottle, put it on a shelf, and I'll review it when I get a round to it. So I don't have a huge amount of experience with ryes. I'm more of a Scotch guy, and then secondarily, probably bourbons. Third after that would be maybe, I don't know, Irish or American single malts, or just Texas whiskeys in general. However, when I have come across ones that I like, I really like them. And there are times in which I'm in the mood for something extra spicy. And actually, I actually eat a lot of rye bread. There is a rye bread that I like to pick up and make turkey sandwiches with it. So I'm going to talk about sandwiches for a second. So rye bread, and then I put a ranch dressing, and then I put a pepper jack cheese. So you got spice from the rye bread, spice from the pepper jack cheese, and then smoked turkey and some lettuce, some tomato. If you happen to have some bacon available, that's always good. And then I'll top it with a slice of cheddar cheese, and of course, more rye bread on top. So you got the spice of the rye bread and the pepper jack cheese. They have the coolness that sort of counterbalances that with the ranch dressing, and the tomato definitely helps. A little bit of crunch with the lettuce, and of course a nice smoked turkey. So there you go. There is my favorite turkey sandwich, and I eat them quite often. So I do like rye. I just tend to eat it more than I do drink it. Now this whiskey, like a lot of other whiskeys, needs some time to open up. So I really didn't start really enjoying it. I think I started to break down below the shoulder. Also, this whiskey definitely needs a little bit of water. It can also take a cube or two of ice if you want to try it that way to cool it down. But before I get into this, let me tell you about the profile of this whiskey. The Alberta Premium Rye Cask Strength Canadian Whiskey comes from Alberta Distillers Limited. The mash bill consists of 100% prairie rye. It was distilled in pot still and column stills. It has a non-age statement, but it is at least 5 years old. It was matured in new white oak barrels with a number 4 char from Independent Stave, ex-bourbon barrels with a number 4 char sourced from Jim Beam Distillery, and a Canadian barrel, which is an ex-bourbon barrel secondary use, a multi-used barrel. And this one's bottled at 66% alcohol by volume, and you can still find it for around $75 in my neighborhood. So depending on what release you have, the ABV can vary, but the ones I've looked at online, they're at least like 55. So you're looking 55 plus, so you're still getting a nice cask strength, a high ABV whiskey. And the casking seems to be the same. Prices, of course, are always going to vary, even if you're getting the same bottle. But this is the one that got Jim Murray's high praise, and it's at 66%, which is got to be one of the highest, if not the highest, ABV whiskeys I have, although I do have a Jack Daniel's that's over 70% alcohol. I haven't reviewed that one yet. That's another round to it. Eventually, I'll get to it. So on the nose, if I was doing this blind, it does have some characteristics that might make you think bourbon or high rye bourbon, because you got a lot of nice vanilla notes, caramel, but then that distinctive spice of rye really kicks in. There's a character that reminds me of root beer or sarsaparilla. There's a little of a sort of a grassy character as well. Black licorice, a little bit of honey on the palate. Even with a little water, the ABV didn't come down that much. It has quite a sting, quite an alcohol bite. On entry, it reminds me of a lot of bourbons, but right in the, even before you get to the mid palate, that rye character really kicks in. There's an herbal quality there, black licorice, pepper, a little bit of light caramel and vanilla coming in about midway as well. There's a dryness to it and yet also a sweetness to it. Sweetness up front, and then right in the middle it dries a little bit and almost seemingly like a little bit of a tannic character. Palate wise, it seems thin. Hold on. Palate wise, in terms of mouthfeel, it feels thin. I'm saying probably because of use of column stills. But there's also a character, sometimes alcohol, if you retain a lot of the oils and so forth, you're not chill filtering and all that, you get a nice thick viscosity to it. But some real high BV alcohols, almost come across as like a vodka. So it's a rather thin and but it's an approachableness as well. It is smooth or silky. It has some elegance. It has some finesse. It has a super, insanely long finish. I'm still tasting it now. I could probably, for half an hour just sit here and still taste it. What follows and sticks around on the finish is there's a sweetness, there's that black licorice, there's some a little bit of vanilla, some herbal character, and a grassy character. Now, I'm not a huge rye fan, but when I'm in the mood for it, this would definitely hit the spot. It's sort of like foods, maybe I don't eat Chinese food very often or Indian food very often, but when I'm in the mood for that kind of a spicy food, then I'm going to want to look for the best Indian restaurant I can find or the best Chinese food restaurant I can find, and this sort of fits that bill. I would say you should have at least one. If you have a collection, maybe if it's just 10 bottles, maybe 20 bottles, you should have one really, 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 really good rye. And this would definitely be, if you got to pick one, this would be one that I would go for. This would be the one that I would buy. Because for this style of whiskey, even though I don't drink a whole lot of rye, this is absolutely superb. I think the transitions are good. I think the length of flavor is excellent. I think this is a spectacular representative for this style of whiskey. And we Americans, the Southern Americans or Americans, we tend to complain that the good stuff in Canada doesn't make its way south. This is a Lot 40 cask strength Canadian whiskey. It's also a round to it. I've not opened this. I got this on trade with some of my colleagues, whiskey tuber colleagues up in Canada. We swap bottles. We used a stork to get them north and south. And it's one I've been sitting on for a long period of time just because I haven't gotten around to it. But this is a bottle that doesn't make its way down into the United States. So, because this one does make its way down south, I want to highly, highly recommend you check it out. Particularly, if you're a student of whiskey and you want to know what it can Canadian whiskey really be like, rather than some of those budget 40 ABV bottles, then I'll highly recommend you check this one out. A few other features that I like about this one, I think it's a beautiful, beautiful bottle. It doesn't have a cork, it has a screw cap. Whiskeys don't need corks. Whiskeys don't need corks, and if you use 100% natural cork, the alcohol will break down the cork and they will break. I've had a lot of bad experience with natural corks used in Scotch whiskeys. It just deteriorates the cork and the cork will deteriorate into the bottle. Screw cap works perfectly fine, nice and handy. I don't need a pop. Second thing I like about this is the box. Absolutely brilliant. I love gold on black, like a 1977 Trans Am from Smokey and the Bandit. I always think of that when I see gold on black. Easy to read. It really, really pops. It's lightweight. And the details on the back, the white on black, are really, really easy to read. And I gotta say, Ardnamurchan, if for some strange reason you haven't been watching, love the Ardnamurchan whiskeys, love visiting the distilleries, but anything writing on this box is absolutely useless. It's a recycled material, which I appreciate, but the little like fibrous elements of the recycled paper or recycled cardboard interferes with the ability to read, and the font size is just insanely small. You can barely, and even the type font that they use is almost near impossible to read. If you saw my review of the Ardnamurchan AD 321, you know how much I struggled with this one. So Alberta Premium, this is how you do a box. Lightweight, it'll flatten out, and everything's really, really clear with a nice gold or white on the black. And the same goes for the back label as well. Now, the one thing about this I don't like is they're not real forthcoming with a lot of information on the website. I had to hunt around, search around to get more information about the casking and so forth. And the website is not revealing as I'd like it to be. Now, what would I give this whiskey in terms of a score? Like just right here, my nose right here, man, that vanilla, a combination of the vanilla and like a sweet character, a sweet caramel character in combination with the spice, really love that. Right there, man. So I really, really like this whiskey, but it's one I'm going to be in the mood for. What would I give in terms of score? I'm going to go solid 90 points out of 100. If I were a rye enthusiast and maybe had a better appreciation for it, I would probably end up going higher. Well, would I want to go higher? I'd like something more in the body and the weight of the whiskey. I think using the column still is really thinning it out. I don't think I need something that's this high ABV. I appreciate it. I don't need this. I would rather take the ABV down to 55, 57, somewhere in the neighborhood, but give me more substance and weight and character to the mouthfeel of the whiskey, but I love the length of the finish, so it's absolutely fantastic. Now, all right, so 90 points, potentially one of my top 10 for 2024. All right, until next time, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.